Well, the reason why I bring this up is I've just told you all these terrible things about smoke and about cigarettes, and I'm not here to really talk about that actually because everybody knows that. I rarely ever run into someone who doesn't know that smoking's bad for them. But what they don't know is how come they can't quit. Why is it so difficult for a smoker to get off of nicotine? And that's this slide here. If we look at the effects of nicotine on the brain, it does all those things I just asked you about. And isn't that a powerful drug? In fact, one of the things that I want to point out to, remember we talked about heroin and cocaine and crack. They're all working on dopamine. That's the high. Nicotine is what's called a functional high. So instead of losing control of their body, losing control of their mind, they are actually not only experiencing the high, but they actually are able to attend and focus better because acetylcholine is also released into the synapses. So when you look at this, just in this slide like this, nicotine is a pretty powerful substance, isn't it? And here's the one thing that's really important to remember. Whether you're a user or you have a loved one who's a user and you're trying to work with them to get off of tobacco, is a user never forgets what their brain is like on nicotine. So they can be quit 8 years, 10 years, and some traumatic event happens and they go right back to smoking because for 10 to 15 minutes they're going to feel better because of nicotine. And we've all had people that we loved and adore who quit, got a bad diagnosis or got laid off on a job or a death in the family, and they went right back to smoking, and it seems outrageous to us, doesn't it? Well, this is why. They will never forget, and if you have never used, you will never know. It's a very powerful substance, and here's the kicker. Why smoking is actually more difficult than other drugs. Let me say that. Number one most addictive substance is crack cocaine, by the way. Try it once, you're probably addicted at that time. The next most addictive substance is nicotine. The reason being is how it's delivered. When you inhale with your lungs something, it gets to the brain within 8 seconds. So what the user learns is immediate gratification. If I'm depressed and I smoke a cigarette, in 8 seconds, for 10 to 15 minutes, and they all know it's only 10 to 15 minutes, but I feel better. You know, I've got dopamine's in there, serotonin's rushing through my synapses, acetylcholine. I feel pretty good, and I can deal with it. It calms me right down if it's a stressful thing. Other drugs like heroin or things that you snort or shoot up take longer. If I do it here, it takes 2 minutes for it to get to my brain. So not only do they have a very powerful effect from smoking, but it's immediate gratification, which is one of the things that it becomes very much entwined in the life of the user. And actually, we just kind of talked about that. It is the Euphoria Effect without being stoned. It's an immediate reinforcement, everything that they do. So you know how, if you've known a smoker or were a smoker, how cigarettes became really tied up with like drinking coffee, driving the car, talking on the phone, balancing the checkbook. I mean, there were all these things that the tobacco got associated with, and that's because, for example, balancing the checkbook. If I smoke a cigarette, I'm able to attend and focus better on what it is I'm doing. If I'm driving the car, I attend and focus better on my driving, plus it helps keep me calm in that process. The other thing is I want y'all to see this. This is really important. When we talk about psychological addiction, we're talking about learned behavior. And this, I think, is incredible. If you smoke a pack a day, 10 puffs per cigarette, which is the average, 200 puffs for 365 days, 73,000 puffs, and you smoke for 20 years, 1.5, almost 1.5 million puffs, someone tell me something you've done 1.5 million times. I once had a lady say she went to the bathroom 1.5 million times. I was like, you go to the bathroom 200 times a day? She goes, okay, well, maybe not that much. But there really is not anything that in the normal course of life that you do 1.5 million times. So it makes it really understandable, though, when we ask a smoker to quit smoking, that we're actually asking them to give up their most practiced behavior. It might be their greatest talent. And so not only are they giving up this drug that does wonderful things for their brain, we're giving up their most familiar behavior. Watch a friend, or maybe if you are a user, when they're stressed, they have this little routine that's almost predictable. That is very comforting to them. It is part of kind of how they focus, narrow their focus down. It's actually part of their stress management regime. If we were to do stress management here, I would teach you 5 steps. The first one is remove yourself from the source of stress. So you might walk out of the building. Where do smokers have to go nowadays? Outside the building. The second thing would be to focus your attention on something. Watch a smoker when they go out. They have these little routines. You know, the cigarette's always in the same place, but they pat every pocket. They take the cigarette out. They tap it. The third thing I would teach you is deep breathing. Watch them when they take that first puff. What do? He makes me so mad, right? The fourth thing I would teach you is to spend 7 to 10 minutes in doing that behavior. How long does it take to smoke a cigarette? 7 to 10 minutes. And the last one is repeat as necessary. So what do smokers do? Repeat as necessary. So you see that actually they have a very adaptive stress management regime, don't they? The only bad thing is they've put a cigarette into it. And then again, whether it's the person trying to quit or you trying to help someone you love quit, we have to be understanding of that, because what we're asking them to do is actually give up one of their ways that they deal with stress. So we're going to just talk briefly about how to help a loved one quit. I've been doing tobacco addiction for 17 years, and let me tell you, in that time I have dealt with a lot of loved ones who might have had a family member who's actually dying related to their tobacco use. And the frustration in the family is just unbelievable. I mean, cognitively, we all understand you got to quit or you're going to die, right? I mean, that makes total sense. But we have to figure out, we have to remember, and hopefully you have an idea of how important this is to the user. So talking about quitting, we have to do some different things. First of all, in the medical field, they often do the lecturing for you, so there's no sense doing a lecture. They get that from some of the best. They paid big money for those lectures, didn't they? So the one thing that I really encourage you to do is avoid lectures and avoid threats. You know, if you don't quit, you're going to die of cancer. Is that effective intervention? It's not. Actually, what happens, let's do you. If you don't quit breathing, that's not a good one. If you don't do X, you're going to die. I mean, what does that do to you when I say something like that? First of all, if you're at least a bit like me, you're like, who are you to tell me what to do? I mean, really, truly, right? We don't even like ourselves to tell us what to do sometimes. This, lectures and threats, actually build up defenses to whatever it is that we're telling people to do. So what we want to do is avoid that, because we don't want them building up the reasons to quit. If you argue to quit, they will argue to continue the behavior. So the goal is not to make it an argument. I want to really encourage you all to congratulate them on their efforts. Now I'm going to give you an example. I run across people all the time who smoke Marlboro Reds and they've just switched to Marlboro Lights. Now I know that they haven't really done anything that decreases the amount of nicotine or decreases anything really. But I do congratulate them and really, really make sure that they know I'm proud of them for that, because for them, that was a big change, and that's important. And even though they haven't given up the cigarettes like we'd want them to, we want to really make sure that we are excited for them because they are trying. That was a try, and we want to focus on that.